A prosecutor's appearance on a cable news program is causing complications in a murder trial. Former soldier Skylar Nemitz is accused of shooting and killing his wife, Danielle, back in 2014. Now his legal team is asking for a mistrial after the supervising prosecutor talked about the case on the Nancy Grace program. Check it out.
Why did he have an assault weapon at home, Mark?
The defendant was highly experienced with firearms. He actually had 15 different weapons in his apartment. He'd been handling guns since he was 4 years old. He actually builds AR-15s. He buys the parts and puts them together, and he customized the weapon in this case for Danielle. So
now, what does that mean? I think I know my way around a weapon from being a prosecutor for so many years, but what do you mean he customized an assault weapon for his wife?
He put together the parts and he balanced the weapon in a way that it would be ambidextrous, so it could be used on either shoulder.
Again, that's the voice of the supervising prosecutor. Our legal panel is here to take up this case. Lise Wheel is a Fox News legal analyst. Yodit Tewolde is a criminal defense attorney, also a former prosecutor herself. Lise, did the prosecutor here, and again, he's not the guy who's taking the case into the courtroom, he supervises the two prosecutors. Did he cross the line?
I don't think so. What he did was not smart, in my opinion. You really shouldn't be commenting on the case if you're the prosecutor, even if you're just a supervising prosecutor, while it's ongoing. It just isn't smart to do it. But he's not really putting in his own comments. He's talking about the case. He's talking about the motives. And what the judge found here is that there was no evidence that the jurors, they were told, they were admonished not to listen to any of the media going around about the case. There was no evidence that the jurors actually watched the Nancy Grace show, so they couldn't have been prejudiced by what he said. So there was no evidence that they were, that it would have any impact on the ongoing case. So not smart, but didn't cross the ethical line.
The theory of the prosecution is that this former soldier, Skylar Nemitz, was upset with his wife because while he was out on a training mission, she got some other guy to buy her alcohol. She was only 19 years old at the time. And boom, all of a sudden, she's got a bullet in the back of her head from that AR-15. Again, the question is, was the prosecutor okay to go on television and talk about it? He says he was just trying to help keep the public informed about the case.
While he's trying to keep the public informed, he does have a duty to make sure not only to establish, or his office to establish, the elements of the crime, but also to make sure that the defendant receives a fair trial. And so, like, she said, he didn't necessarily cross the ethical lines enough for a judge to declare this trial a mistrial, because a judge has to find an error so grave, so fundamental, that he cannot even instruct the jury of any wrongdoing. So at the end of the day, all we can go off of is what the jury says. If you ask the jury, have you seen anything on TV concerning this case? Have you heard anything, or have you read anything? And they say no, then that's all you can go off of. It's an honor system at this point.
But what about Grace herself? I mean, she tends to back up prosecutors in most of her presentations, but she was, suggesting that she believes this guy is guilty.
Absolutely. And she's kind of theatrical and crying and on the show. And look, if down the road it comes out that one of these jurors heard, maybe they didn't see him, maybe they didn't see Lindquist, the prosecutor, but they saw her commentary about the case, and they saw her putting together things about the case, then that could be something that they could use, they being the defense, as a potential for an appeal down the road. And then that would be something that the prosecutor would be ruining the day that he ever stepped in front of that camera. And then the thing is, yes, we do use the honor system, but once you have said something like that, once you have made an impression like that on the television, the cat was out of the barn. I mean, you can't bring that back.
But what did the judge say? The judge did watch the segment in court and evaluated everything.
And he said that there wasn't a scintilla of evidence that the jurors watched this program.
But what if there is found to be a scintilla of evidence down the road? Won't the prosecutor be saying, I wish I wasn't ever on that program?
And I think the defense attorney did his job by actually raising this as an issue, so that later, if it does come out that a juror, or maybe more than one juror, saw this program, that he could bring this back up on appeal.
Well, it is apparently scheduled for deliberations. We'll let our viewers know what happened. Yodit Tewolde, Lise Wheel, thank you both.
Thank you.
Jenna.